Hello and welcome to a What's in My Bag knitting edition. Okay, hello. I'm doing a slightly different format of video this week. And that format is a kind of what's in my bag. If you've ever watched one of those Vogue videos where they have celebrities show what's in their bag, or like an OG what's in my backpack YouTube video. They're one of my favorite videos to watch. They just really fill a nosiness that I have, or satisfy this nosiness, because at heart I am a very nosy person. And I wanted to make one because I have 3 whips right now. So I have 3 project bags and thought it would be fun to show you what I keep in my project bags when I'm working on projects. I have a sock whip, I have a cardigan whip, and a shawl. So there will be similarities in what I keep in all of them, but wanted to just kind of show, when I'm working on a garment, what I keep in that bag to successfully knit that garment and be able to leave the house with everything I need. Same with the sock, and then same with the shawl as well. So I thought it'd be fun to do that. It's fulfilling a urge in me to the amount of fake what's in my bag videos I've not filmed, but just acted out in the mirror or things like that as a kid or as like a young teen, showing what was in my backpack after watching so many other YouTubers or celebrities do them before. So I thought it would be fun for me. And it also gives me a chance to show off a few of my whips, because I'm trying to make myself feel better about the fact that I don't have any finished objects, because I'm working on 3 different projects and have had about 3 to 4 whips for the past month now. So doubling as a whip parade. And then hopefully I can show off some tools that make my knitting life easier and give you maybe some tips and tricks on how to make projects go more seamlessly for you with the supplies you have. So let's get into it. I'm very excited, if you could not tell. And so, as I mentioned, I have a sock project, I have a cardigan project, and I have a shawl project. And I think I'm going to go the order. I'm going to start with the oldest one, which is this cardigan. And we'll just go through the bag together. So this bag I made, if you watched a video that I made I think 2 weeks ago, was the creation of this bag. So it's a swatch bag. These are all from past projects, including the project I'm about to show you. This swatch is from this cardigan that I'm working on. And yeah, please watch that video if you're interested in seeing how I made this bag. It was really fun. But let's get into what's inside. So the first thing I have are the buttons for this cardigan. These are from Pigeon Wishes, and I actually was given these by Marlene Knits. I watch her channel a lot, and she did a giveaway a little while ago where you just had to comment after being a viewer or a subscriber, and she sent them to me. And they're really beautiful buttons to go with this cardigan. Of course, the next thing in this bag is the cardigan. Cannot really have a project bag without a project. So here's the current state. This is the Eva cardigan. I've been working on it for 3 weeks now, maybe. I have both sleeves done, and I just need to work on the body, which takes forever. You may notice that the sleeves, I'm hoping this blocks out. For some reason, I used shorty needles on the sleeves from Knit Picks, and then the rest of the body is knit in bamboo needles, the Takumi clovers, and it's the same size needle, but the tension changed a lot between the 2 needle types, but hopefully that blocks out. But otherwise, she's cardigan whip. I'm working on her. Hopefully she looks a lot smoother and blocking on the sleeves as well. I'm hoping they even out. But if I didn't already say, this is the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit that I'm working on. And I'm using Dust Bunny in the Druid DK base from Apothecary Fabrico. She actually just shut down, so I received this. I paid for a fair amount of it, but I did sample knit for her a while ago, so had some sample knit compensation to use, and that's what I ended up purchasing. Before I move on, I have point protectors on my needles here. This is just a pack that I got around Christmas from Amazon actually. I split it with my mom for little stocking stuffers, and I love using needle point protectors. I think that they really help to just know when you're transporting a project a lot, or when like on a cardigan, I will just try it on while it's on the needles, and I know that the point protectors are going to make sure that I don't lose a bunch of stitches, so it's just really helpful for that. Or I feel a little safer digging around in the bag as well because my needle points are protected. So point protectors are an amazing thing for garments. The next thing in here is my ball of yarn. This is my working yarn, and I made this little cover, or I think it's called a yarn sock or a yarn cozy. It's a pattern by Nitty Natty. I honestly, since making this, have realized that I could have just put my yarn in a sock. If you have spare socks, highly recommend just putting like a yarn cake in a spare sock just to make sure it stays safe, because I center pull, so this helps to keep tension on it so that you don't get yarn vomit during your project and to keep it contained. So I will link the pattern, but again, you could also use a sock. But if you have a bunch of extra yarn, like scrap yarn, this was a fun, easy project to do. Another ball of yarns in here. And then I have a cat who gets into my yarn. His name's Kepler. He's a frequent guest on this channel, and he did make his presence known with this project bag a little while ago. I've been storing all my projects in our TV stand, which has doors, or like cabinet doors, but he did in fact learn how to open one of the doors a week ago. I've since bought stronger magnets to keep the doors closed, and his little arms can't open it anymore. He does not have the strength, but he did get in here and make a little bit of a tangle, which is part of why this project has not been worked on recently. Oh, tangle fixed itself already. So fun little tangle going on. And then more labels. I don't know why I feel the need to keep every single yarn label while I'm working on a project. I could probably just keep one, or I don't need to keep them at all. It's also logged on Ravelry, but something in me says I need to keep them. So that's what I do. So that's the majority of what's in here, like to actually do the project. You saw my needles, point protectors, yarn, of course, and then the project, and then buttons. And then I always keep a bag like this, or if some of my project bags have pockets, I'll put something to store all my notions in one spot. So this is my little notions bag. My mom actually made this for me, and it's little mice on flowers with strawberries. It's so cute. I have a tote bag with this as well, and a bigger bag. So really enjoy that she made. I'm going to dump everything out here and pull stuff out for you. So within this little tiny notions bag, I have a set of 9-inch circular needles that I use to knit the sleeves. I got these a little bit ago. They're from Knit Picks, and I think they were just called the Shorty set. They just had them on sale for Leap Day. Weird sale, but got them for that, and they've really made knitting sleeves a lot easier for me. I hate magic loop. I hate DPN, so it's really nice to have the 9-inch circular so I don't have to change to those. And I was able to knit all of this sleeve down through the cuff on this set of needles, which is awesome. So thoroughly enjoy those, and definitely not a necessity. You can always just do magic loop, but if you are like me and hate it, look into a pair of shorties. It makes life a lot easier. The next thing I have in here is 2 barber cords, stitch keepers, whatever you want, try it on tubing. These have a lot of different names, but it's just hollow plastic tubing that I use while knitting raglans to put the sleeves on hold. These are really nice because they attach to your needle directly. You can just shift all of your stitches on, so you don't have to manually kind of, if you've ever had to put stitches on like a piece of waste yarn, it's a lot more work to individually pull each stitch onto the waste yarn, versus these, you can just quickly kind of slide them over. So these have made my life knitting raglans a lot easier to put my sleeves on hold. I also have longer ones that I use to try on garments, which just helps me to try on my garments more frequently and gets me... That's very weird. My camera just stopped, but it should be fine now. As I was saying, yeah, I use these a lot in the longer version to try on my garments so that I try on a garment more frequently and end up with a better fit because I can identify fit issues sooner if I'm trying something on more frequently. So I love these. You can get just like a big spool of it if you want, or a lot of local knitting stores will sell kind of standard quantities like 80 inches or so to try things on. So highly recommend getting some of these if you haven't seen them before. Again, a lot of what I'm showing today is not necessity, it's just what makes my life easier. So I'm going to say highly recommend, but if it's not in your budget, not a need for you, don't do it. I could very well knit without any of the stuff I'm showing today, except for like needles and yarn. But it does help. It does help me to enjoy my projects and just feel more focused on the knitting. Okay, so the next thing I have in this bag is a pair of scissors. I collect scissors, if you can't tell. My collection right now looks a little bit slim because they're all dispersed in project bags, but I do kind of, one of my favorite things to buy at a local yarn store if I'm not buying yarn is a pair of scissors, or I've been given scissors as gifts. So really just enjoy a pair of cute little scissors, and this is one such pair. They collapse down. So I already showed you the collapse down version, and they're just sharp. They have a nice rainbow finish on them. I do not know the name of any of these products because I've been using them for like years. So my apologies. This isn't going to be like the highest quality of recommendations. If you're looking for everything, it might not be linked, but if you are interested in anything, I might be able to track something down for you. Just let me know down below. But yeah, great pair of scissors. They're also like really fun to fidget with. So if I'm frustrated with a project and I have these scissors in my project bag, I'll often just kind of play with them because they're fun and they fold down nice and compact. So I try to bring these on airplanes too. Just in the US, it's fine to travel with scissors like this, even extended out. I would not be stopped through security. I think that you're allowed to bring below 3-inch blades on scissors. Of course, any knife is not allowed. But I just like the added security of knowing like these are collapsed down. They don't look like scissors when they're going through security, and they're not going to get confiscated. So I appreciate those. I also, in this bag, have cord stoppers. So instead of on my interchangeable needle set, I can put these on instead of the needles, and so that my stitches can just rest on the same cord they've been working on, which is really helpful while doing a raglan or a drop shoulder to be able to switch between areas I'm working. So really appreciate them. They are easy to find for my set. I just bought them at Joann's. I have the Clover Takumi needle set, by the way. And yeah, they're good. Most interchangeable needle sets come with these just to make life easier. Another set of the Shorties needles. So these are a US 4 that's on, which is what I knit my cuff in, and this is a US 6, which is what I knit the stockinette and the majority of the sleeve in. I also have in here a tape measure because, of course, you need a tape measure on any project, and I like to check my project many, many times. So I try to have enough tape measures that I can have a few projects going and have my measure readily available. So I have just retractable ones. They're cheap, easy to find. Sometimes they're also one of my favorite things to get from a local yarn store if I'm traveling and don't feel like buying yarn but do want some sort of souvenir. Oftentimes you can get like a labeled one from a store, but this one's just a nice plain green. I also have a needle keeper, so I can put two needles through here and store them together. This is how I store the majority of my interchangeable needles when they're not working, just to keep things a little bit more organized for myself. This is another set of the cord stoppers and the thing to tighten my needles for my shorty set. Next thing I have, this is my favorite type of tapestry needle, darning needle, whatever you want to call them, but when you have to weave in ends, this is what I like to use. I like it because the whole thing is the eye, so it's not that big of a deal to expand it, put my yarn in, and weave in my ends like that. Just find them so much easier to use than a needle like this. Like this, to me, is just so much easier to slide my yarn in. I'm not as worried about the yarn coming out or things like that. It's easier to weave in ends when they're short too, because I can kind of move the yarn around to be able to get it in and out. So these help me a lot to weave in my ends and make it feel a lot easier. I've struggled to find them in the past. I found them at Joann's and on Amazon a few times, but they're from Susan Bates is the ones I found, but you can find other brands that do it. But if you can, I recommend needles like this for weaving ends. They, in my opinion, make it a lot easier. These do fine, of course, and these are a lot more readily available. So you're fine with these, but if you want just slightly more ease, this is the way to go, in my opinion. Last thing I have in here is, first I have this. This is to massage fingers, so it's kind of like, I know rock climbers use them a lot too, but it's like a tension ring, and you just pull it up and down your fingers to relieve some tension. So I get a lot of tension in my left hand from holding my yarn. Like I'm a continental knitter, so I tension my yarn with this finger, and it's just nice on a big project like this where there's a lot of knitting and a lot of purling, especially, to have this handy to just bring up and down my finger a few times to help blood flow, relieve a little bit of tension. It's like a massage ball or anything like that that you roll out your feet or roll out your back. It's like that, but for your finger. And the final thing I have in here is just a few stitch markers that I've made. I like to find little charms and then make some stitch markers out of them. So recently I found these charms at I was at a thrifting convention and found them and turned them into cute little stitch markers. So I have this one with cherries, and it's just on a earring clasp so that I can put it on my needle, put it on a stitch. Really great. Same with this peach one. It might be an apple, peach or an apple. I also have this little book one, which is super cute. And then this is a counting one. So there are 10 little hoops on here, and I've made it so that the odd ones, so like 1, 3, 5, 7, have a little gold bead, which you can't really see. They blend in pretty well to the gold hoop. But then the even ones have this nice purple bead, and then there's a nice star at the bottom. That way, if I'm working on something where I need to repeat a pattern or just keep track of my stitch count or my row count, I know I go through each of these and slip it to the next ring every time I knit across a row or across a round, just to keep track. So I know a lot of brands sell these. I've seen them from Twice Sheared Sheep and others, but I've found for myself, I have a very basic knowledge of jewelry making, and I'm able to make these with just a few tools. I have tiny little jewelry pliers and can make some of these for myself. So that's what I've done in the past. So that's this project bag. Some fun stuff in here. I need to pick back up this project. I haven't worked on it in a little bit. Just other things have gotten in the way. So I'm excited once I get one of these whips off my plate. My next focus will be on this cardigan because I really, really, really want to wear it. Okay, continuing on in the order of cast on, the next thing I have is this sock project, which actually has one complete sock and I just haven't finished it. So I guess we can start with the project bag. I'm just opening it to make it easier. This is a little Della Q bag with nice snaps at the top, and it's from the Tangled Ball, which is one of my local yarn stores. It's so cute that they have a custom Della Q bag, and so yeah, I had to get it one of the first times I visited the Tangled Ball. But it's really small, just fits a sock pretty nicely, or a sock project pretty nicely, and has the nice snaps at the top, which is really great too for color work. If you are working color work, you can have different colors come out, kind of have one here, have one here, just makes life a little bit easier for that, but it's also just a great bag generally. So first thing in here is my ball of yarn, which this is a really sad ball of yarn. I'm not sure what I did winding wise, but there's a lot of yarn vomit happening that I don't know how to fix, and it like tightens this a lot. So that's part of why the second sock hasn't been cast on, because I have to figure out how to, like, I'm pulling really hard right now and the yarn's not coming out because it's tangled around here. So I have to do some yarn management before I can knit the next sock with ease. So I've kind of held off on casting on for that reason. Also, I've just had other things to work on. But beautiful yarn. It is, I know I just said I keep all my yarn labels, but I don't have the yarn label for this one, but it's from the Yarn Addict. The color is the Speckled Sheep. The Yarn Addict recently changed their name to Little Fiber Co. And has completely different colorways now, so I'm not sure if this one will ever be available again, but it's really beautiful, and it's just I think it's a 75-25 or an 80-20 superwash merino and nylon blend. So simple yarn, it's very beautiful. You'll see it knit up in a second, because the next thing in this bag is a sock. So I've completed one whole sock. It looks really long, but it fits me well. This was my second toe up sock that I've ever done. So that was fun. I really like the heel style on this one. My first one had like a heel flap and gusset, which on a toe up sock was very confusing. So I appreciated this style. I don't really know what it was called, maybe a short row heel. But yeah, it's just a beautifully cabled sock with 2x2 ribbing. It is the Intersection sock by Marceline. Don't know her last name, but it's from the 52 Weeks of Sock book. You can also buy the pattern on its own if you'd like, and I'll link the patterns I talk about below as well. So look for it there if you want more information. But beautiful, beautiful pattern, and I felt so good about the pairing of this yarn and this pattern. I just think that they go so well together. So here, let me spread it on my hand so you can see the cabling. Looks great. So yeah, that's the sock. Need to cast on the other. I also have in here a set of US 1 or US 0 DPNs. So I have 2 DPNs in here. I really like to use DPNs to do any sort of short rows. I typically knit my socks on 9-inch circulars, back to my hatred of magic loop or DPNs generally. So the majority of like the leg and the foot of my socks is knit on 9-inch circulars. But for any sort of short row, like a heel flap and gusset, anything where I'm working back and forth, these 2 needles are different sizes. So I have the Chiago Shorty set, and I pair the 8-inch, or like I think this is a 1-inch tip with the 2-inch tip. So I pair the 2 together, and it's just really frustrating to then work back and forth on them because they're different sizes. So I just switch to DPNs when I have to do any sort of back and forth for a heel flap and gusset. Short rows, anything like that is these, but everything else is knit like this. So I have the longer one in my left hand and work off my right hand because I'm a right-handed knitter. I also always have 2 sets of my shorties in my bag so that when I'm working on the toe, I can kind of do a variation of magic loop, but it's not really magic loop. I just have like half of the toe on one set of needles and half the toe on the other and work around like that. I found that a lot easier to do magic loop with 2 sets of needles. That might not make sense if you don't see it, but I promise it works well. I also am able to try on the socks while I'm working on them by just knitting half of the stitches onto one needle, keeping the other half on the other needle, and then I have the stretch and the ability to try on the sock to make sure it's fitting right. Also in here is a set of needle stoppers. These are from Tulip, and yep, just rubber go on the top of my needles, protect the points, keep my stitches on, which is great. Another tape measure. This one's blue. Another set of scissors. These are so cute, and they have a little point protector, and yep, just little mini scissors. And then I have another one of those sewing needles I was showing earlier in a smaller size for weaving in my ends. Another counting stitch marker. This one has a mitten charm on it, which is so cute. And then I have some light bulb stitch markers, or like, yeah, they're light bulb safety pins that I use often as stitch markers. And I also have some fun, just on the needle circular ring stitch markers in this little floral. I think they're from All Stitch Studio. And I have a nice set with them that I got a little while ago, also at the Tangled Ball, actually. So that's what's in this bag. And while it's not in this bag, I do like to make sure I also have this nearby while I'm knitting a pair of socks. It doesn't fit in the bag, but I find this way easier to measure for compared to the ruler, or like the tape measure. So for my socks, like especially when I'm knitting the foot, I'm able to stick the foot of the sock in this and see where my knitting ends and get a lot easier of a measurement that way, rather than kind of trying to unfurl the knitting fabric, have it flat but not stretched, and like pull out my tape measure. This just makes things a lot easier. Again, not a necessity, but I appreciate it. I asked for a lot of these things that are extra as gifts, so this was a birthday gift I received, and it does make knitting socks a lot easier just to be able to measure as I'm going. So that's what's in my sock whip project bag. All right, and here is my final whip bag, or my project bag. My mom just gave me this project bag. It's a lunchbox that she didn't like, and so she gave it to me instead, and I've really been enjoying it. It is one of the bags that so far my cat has not figured out how to get into. It has a nice, really secure zipper that goes all the way to the end. I can even add security to it if I want by threading it through here, but I'm just storing all my bags hidden away now so he can't get into them, because you can see he's tried. There's a lot of little pulls from little claws and little kitty teeth. So that's the outside of the bag. I'll start this time with the notions, which I'm storing in this little clip-on bag on the outside. So there's a little clip right here that I've just been storing all my notions in. So here they are. Let me dump them all out. All right, so for this project, it's a shawl, so it's a lot simpler notions-wise. So I just have a pair of scissors. Again, love a cute little scissor. Here's one. Another one of these to store a set of needles on, so I just put my interchangeable needles in here to keep them together. Another one of the weaving ends or darning needles, whatever you want to call them, in the style I like, in just a slightly smaller size. And then so many stitch markers on this project, which is funny because I really don't need a lot of stitch markers for this project. I just threw all of these in. So there's these cute cats I've shown before, more of the circular ones, more light bulb stitch markers, more stitch markers that I've made. So here's like a little snowflake. And then also I just got these stitch markers. I ordered them a while ago, these two quilt square ones. I think this is a sawtooth star maybe. But have these two from a really sweet brand called Soft Spoken. But yeah, lots of stitch markers on my chain just in case I need them, which funnily enough, I do not for this project. I also don't have a measuring tape for this project because it's a shawl. And I do need a measuring tape in here, I'm realizing. Since now I've only been working where it says, work till this amount on the shawl, but I actually do need to measure the next section. So I'm grabbing another measuring tape right now in this nice pink color. And I'm gonna throw that in there too. And then the actual shawl and what's in this bag. So here is the product I'm working on. Of course, yarn is Tangled, but this is a sample knit I'm working on for Ryan of Salty Blonde Fibers. This yarn has already been shown before, so I'm not revealing anything with the colorways or the base, but she is releasing them all publicly. They've only been available in small batches in the past, so she's doing a collection and a launch of this base and these colors soon, and asked me to sample knit something for it. So I'm making this shawl. This is a girl's best friend shawl by, I think it's Isabel Kramer. I'll double check, and again, it'll be linked below, but I think it's Isabel Kramer, and it's been a really beautiful, fun project. This is the first shawl I've ever worked on, which has been fun. So yeah, has 3 yarn colors. This is a really wonderful base. It's her prairie base, and it's a blend of merino and I think it's merino and rambouillet. It's so soft, and it's on superwash. Great base. And then yeah, the shawl. I have point protectors, these cute little pink flower ones. I'm using more of those stitch markers I've showed before, just the circular ring ones for the majority to mark my increases. And then at this end, ignore all the ends everywhere that I need to weave in, but I'm also using a counting stitch marker. So this is honestly one of my favorite knitting tools, is just this stitch marker that rotates and counts. So, it's at 8 right now, 9, 10, like it just rotates and counts. It really helps me to track a pattern as needed, to make sure I'm keeping track of what row I'm on, where I need to increase, and things like that. So I really like this. I love the ones I showed before that are the chain with 10 for more repetitive things, but a lot of this pattern has been random sets of random counts, so I can't necessarily just use a count of 10 over and over. Some of them are 10 repeats, some of them a set of 10, some of them are a set of 2, some of them are a set of 8. So I find this really easy to work on things like that. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful shawl. And then the only other things in this bag are yarn. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, those are my projects. Hopefully I'm done with this one soon so I can focus on the cardigan, but trying to let go of trying to push things to be done. Things will be done when they're done. And I'm enjoying all my projects right now, especially with the help of the tools I'm using. And this has been really fun for me to film. I hope that you found it interesting. I'd love to hear you use similar tools. Is there a tool you see that I should use? Because I love a knitting tool. I've tried in the past to reduce how many knitting tools I buy, but I'm a sucker for a good knitting tool, I can't lie. So if you have any recommendations for your favorite tools, let me know down below. If you saw something that you like and can't find it somewhere, let me know. I might be able to help you find something. But again, well, I love knitting tools, and I have a lot of different little gadgets and things to be pretty. I love my little pretty stitch markers and my pretty scissors. You don't need that to be a good knitter, or a good crocheter, or just good crafter generally. Being thrifty, figuring out what you can do with what you already have is honestly something that I'm really jealous of other folks for being able to do. I'm trying to do more of that in my own knitting, but I don't know, part of the joy for me is having a seamless experience, and having cute things surround me while I'm working on something. I just get a lot of enjoyment from using a pretty stitch marker or pretty set of scissors or a pretty project bag. So that's why you see that here. I know it's not a necessity, and I would love to challenge myself in the future to use more things I already have and repurpose things. You can just use old earrings for stitch markers, or safety pins, or anything you want. A lot of the the light bulb stitch markers, safety pins I showed today are just from tags of clothing. So you can just tie little bits of yarn together too. There's so many different things you can do. You don't need a lot of tools, but I appreciate having them. So let me know if there's a tool that you really love that you didn't see and you think I should work with, or if you found a new tool from this, or power to you if you don't really like using a lot of tools. Thanks for watching anyways and letting me indulge in showing off my favorite tools and my favorite bags. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you again next week for a podcast episode. So, okay, see y'all then. Bye.